All glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda, all glories to the mission that he established back in 1965. Actually, it was prior to that he was on the mission, but it wasn't till he got on the Jaladuta boat and made his historic journey from India by himself, by the way. And there's a lot of history prior to his journey that has been written about, and really is a testimony to his greatness as a determined devotee of Lord Krishna to serve his spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada, who gave him that order, everyone, to preach Krishna consciousness to the Western-speaking countries. And even though he was in the renounced order of life living at Radha Damodar Temple in Vrindavan, he kept that order fresh in his mind during that time. And then finally, after completing the first three volumes of the first canto of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, he decided to work towards seeking passage from India to America, and embarked on that amazing adventure of taking up this service to his spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada. And this is the business of a devotee. All of us as Prabhupada disciples is to follow his example. Whatever great men do, common men will follow. So Prabhupada, Śrīla Prabhupada is undoubtedly the greatest preacher of Krishna consciousness in the modern times. And even though we're fallen souls, very fallen, especially us in the West, I say that from Hamilton here, we're the Kali Yuga Steel City town Vaishnavas, not very elevated souls from birth, that's for sure. And even though there are 18 Prabhupada disciples from the city of Hamilton, I think the most of any city, especially in Canada, still, who can understand how we got plucked out of the material energy and took up this Krishna consciousness movement back in the early 70s. So it was truly a miracle, I must say, and it's been quite a journey in time up to the year 2023. And so all of you, I know you have the same stories in a sense of being on a journey in time, trying to find the truth, looking for the truth. And then you finally take shelter of the pure devotee A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. So this is a journey that we're all on a trek back home, back to Godhead, by the grace of Guru, Shastra, and Sadhu. Guru, Shastra, and Sadhu. And Śrīla Prabhupada back in 1966 had been on a journey from 65 to 66. And then when he got finally into July of 66, the opportunity for launching the movement unfolded by Krishna's grace. And we've been reading from his diaries, which in detail explain how he manifested this society of devotees. And you can see at the beginning of the class all the beautiful pictures that Vinkat Bhatta is putting up now of Prabhupada's success in attracting Western people. He was very attached to his, as he called them, Yaśodā Prabhu, Nanda Prabhu, the dancing white elephants. I still remember going to Mayapur and feeling so proud that we were part of his assembly of devotees that were there to represent him to his godbrothers in the Gaudiya Math as part of his success in his preaching work in the Western world. So it was such a wonderful pastime of Śrīla Prabhupada. And we're reading now, back in time, the original incorporation of ISKCON. We've been reading the details of it. And we'll go back to that now at this section of our program. So if you could turn to that, Vinkabhata, please, I'll start to read again. So I'll just read the fourth article, because that connects us. The corporation is not organized for profit, and no part of the net earnings of the corporation shall inure to the benefit of any private shareholder or individual. That's quite profound. These are standard clauses, by the way, for a not organized for profit, non-profit organization. It's for the benefit of the membership and the mission. In the event of the liquidation or dissolution of the corporation, whether voluntary or involuntary, no member shall be entitled to any distribution or division of its remaining property or its proceeds, and the balance of all money and other property received by the corporation from any source after the payment of all debts and obligations of the corporation shall be used or distributed subject to the order of the Supreme Court of the State of New York, as provided by law exclusively for purposes within those set forth in Article 2nd of this certificate and within the intendant of Section 501C of the Internal Revenue Code of 1954 and its regulations as the same now exist or as they may be there hereafter mentioned from time to time. Fifth, the operation of the corporation are to be conducted principally within the state of New York. Sixth, the principal place of worship of this society is intended to be located at number 26 2nd Avenue in the city, county, and state of New York. Seventh, the number of trustees of the society shall be 9. The names and addresses of the trustees until the first annual meeting of the corporation are as follows: Michael Grant, Jan Oslin, and James S. Green. So Michael Grant is Mukunda, and James Green, I believe that's Yoginath. Jan Oslin, maybe Yaśodā can tell us later. The names and addresses of the trustees until the second annual meeting of the corporation are as follows: Paul Gardner, Donald W. Chapdelaine, Raymond Maris, I think that's Ray Ram. The meetings and addresses of the corporation until the third annual meeting of the corporation are as follows: Carl Jurgens, Raphael Balsam, and Robert Lefkowitz. Ninth, the first annual meeting for the annual election of trustees shall be held on July 6, 1967 at 7 p.m. at number 26 2nd Avenue in the city, county, and state of New York. The matters set forth in paragraph 1st through 8th of this certificate were determined at a meeting held for that pursuant to Section 192 of the Religious corporation law on July 6, 1966, at number 26 2nd Avenue, in the city, county, and state of New York. Said meeting was held to due written notice as provided in Section 191 of the Religious Corporation Law. So, let's go to 11. All of the subscribers of this certificate are of full age, and all are members in good and regular standing of the church seeking incorporation through the filing of this certificate for admission with full membership thereafter in accordance with the rules and regulations thereof, in witness whereof we have made, subscribed, and acknowledged this certificate of incorporation this 13th day of July, 1966. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, such a beautiful handwriting. Carol Becker and Raymond Maris. State of New York, County of New York, on the 13th day of July, 1966, before me personally came A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Raymond Maris, and Carol Becker, to me, known to me to be the individuals described in and who executed the foregoing certificate of incorporation, and they severely acknowledged to me that they severally executed the same. And then there's Stephen Goldsmith. He was the notary public for this document. So this is the beginning of the legal operation of ISKCON. And I just wanted to mention before we go forward with the kirtan that Prabhupada also expanded into Montreal. I think it was the third corporation to be registered. And I was at the time the legal director for ISKCON. Not at that time, but later on. And we were under one banner, ISKCON Montreal. And the articles of incorporation, Prabhupada wanted all the temples to be separate. So you could see that this particular organization was specifically for the temple operation in New York City at 26 2nd Avenue. So he wanted each temple to be independent and run by a temple president and different officers that would be assigned to duties within those individual regions. And he wanted that each temple would grow independently and be decentralized. It wouldn't be a centralized organization. It would be an individual organization set up by him, and the individual presidents would represent him to the community that they were operating in. So this is a very important point for everybody to understand, that ISKCON is not a centralized organization. It is an independent organization for each of the registered charities that were set up. And the New York Temple setup was the template, the prototype of how the movement should run. So all glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda, all glories to the Sankirtan movement. We'll have the Jaya Radha Madhava prayers sung by Śrīla Prabhupāda, and then Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam class with His Grace Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu from California. All glories to the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I do offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Narayanam namaskritya, Narayanam namaskritya, Naram cheva narottamam, Naram cheva narottamam, Devim Saraswatim Vyasam, Devim Saraswatim Vyasam, Tato Jayam Mudirayet, tato jayam mudirayet. One should utter the means of conquest, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead Narayana, 2, to the Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4, to Śrīla Vyasadeva, the author. So welcome everyone to this Sunday morning reading and discussion on Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Today we will first read a few verses from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, about the benefits of hearing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Text number 16. Shushrushu Shraddadhanasya Vasudeva Kataruchihi Syan Mahat Sivaya Vipra Punyatirtha Nishevayat. O the twice-born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely freed from all ranges of vice, a standard of great service is done. And as the result of such great service, affinity in the messages of Vasudeva is made possible. Text number 17. Shrinvatam svakata Krishna punya shravana kirtanaham hridyantastu yabhadrani vidunoti suritsatam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is also the Paramatma in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, does cleanse the heart, does cleanse the desire for material enjoyment in the heart of the devotee, who has developed the urge for hearing his, Krishna's messages, which are themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Text number 18. Nashtaprayeshu babadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in the Bhagavatam class, or rendering service unto the pure devotees, all that is inauspicious in the heart of a candidate becomes destroyed almost to nil, and thus loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental song, comes into being an irrevocable fact. Text 19. Tadarajastamo bhavaha kamalobhadayaschaye chetayetera navidam stitvam sattve prasidati. As soon as irrevocable loving service is fixed up in one's heart, at that time the effects of the nature's mode of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire and hankerings, etc., do disappear from one's heart, and he becomes fixed up in the mode of goodness, which makes him completely happy. Again, welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Today we will be reading from Canto 1, Chapter 3, Text 22, 23, and 24. All English synonyms, translations, and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, Founder-Ācārya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. Text 22. Naradevatvam apannaha suryakara chikirshaya samudra nigrahadini chakri virya nyatapparaha. Nara, human being. Devatvam, divinity, apannaha, having assumed the form of sura, the demigods, karya, activities, chikirshaya, for the purpose of performing, samudra, the Indian Ocean, nigrahadini, controlling, chakri, did perform, viryani, superhuman prowess, ataparaha, thereafter. In the 18th incarnation of the Lord, he appeared as King Rama, and in order to perform some pleasing work for the demigods, he did exhibit inhuman prowess in the acts of controlling the Indian Ocean and then killing the atheist King Ravana on the other side of sea. Purport. The personality of Godhead Sri Rama assumed the form of a human being and appeared on the earth for the purpose of doing some pleasing work for the demigods or the administrative personalities for maintaining the orders of the universe. Sometimes great demons and atheists like Ravana, Hiranyakashipu, and many others become very famous on account of advancing material civilization by the help of material science and other activities with a spirit of challenging the established order of the Lord. For example, the attempt of flying over to other planets by material means is a challenge over the established order. The conditions of each and every planet are different, and different classes of human beings are accommodated there for particular purposes mentioned in the codes of the Lord. But puffed up by tiny success in material advancement, sometimes the godless materialist challenges the existence of God. Ravana was one of them, and he wanted to deport ordinary men to the planet of Indra, heaven, by material means without any consideration of the necessary qualifications. He wanted that a staircase may be built up directly reaching the heaven planet, so that people may not be required to undergo the routine of pious work for qualifying oneself to enter into that planet. He wanted to do many other similar work against the established rule of the Lord. Even he challenged the authority of Sri Rama, the personality of Godhead, and kidnapped his wife Sita. Of course, Lord Rama came to chastise these atheist class of men by the prayer and desire of the demigods, and he therefore took up the challenge of Ravana, and the complete activity is the subject matter of Ramayana. Because Lord Ramachandra was the personality of Godhead, he exhibited some superhuman activities which no human being, including the materially advanced Ravana, could do them. Lord Ramachandra prepared a royal road on the Indian Ocean with stones which were floating on the water. The modern scientists have searched out the region of weightlessness, but it is not possible for such scientists to bring in weightlessness anywhere and everywhere. But because weightlessness is the creation of the Lord, by which he can make the gigantic planets fly and float in the air, so he made the stones even within this earth into weightlessness and prepared a stone bridge on the sea without any supporting pillar. That is the display of the all-powerfulness of God. Text number 23. Ekona vimshe vimshati me vrishnushu prapya janmani Rama Krishna iti bhubo bhagavan haridbaram ekona vimshe in the 19th order, vimshatime in the 20th order also, Vrishnishu in the Vrishni dynasty, Prapya having obtained, Janmani births, Rama Valarama, Krishna Sri Krishna, iti thus, Bhuvo of the world, Bhagavan the personality of Godhead, Aharad remove, Bharam burden. Translation. In the 19th and 20th order of incarnations, the Lord advented himself as Lord Balarama and Lord Krishna in the family of Vrishni or Yadu dynasty. And doing so, he removed the burden of the world. Purport. The specific mention of the word Bhagavan in this text indicate that Balarama and Krishna are the original forms of the Lord. This will be more explained hereinafter. Lord Krishna is not incarnation of the Purusha as we learned it from the beginning of this chapter. He is directly the original personality of Godhead, and Balarama is the first plenary manifestation of the Lord. From Baladeva is the first phalanx of plenary expansions, Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Aniruddha, and Pradyumna. Expand. Lord Sri Krishna is Vasudeva, and Baladeva is Sankarshana also. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaham. I offer my respectful obeisances. We all offer our respectful obeisances to His Divine Grace Śrīla Prabhupāda, our spiritual master, who has opened our eyes from the darkness of ignorance with the torchlight of transcendental knowledge. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhaktisiddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Bhagavad Vandanam Khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatihi Visheshataham Adadana Strinam Danter Idam Yati Punaha Punaha Śrīmad Rupa Padam Bhoja Dhulishyam Janma Janmani Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Rup Sanatana Bhatta Raghunatha Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunatha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this is a very important text of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. We see in this chapter how Sutta Goswami, the foremost speaker of the Puranas in the forest of Naimisharanya, He was speaking to the 60,000 sages assembled there, and he's describing the question which was raised by the great sages in the beginning of the first chapter. The great sages asked Suta Goswami 6 questions, and Suta Goswami is systematically explaining the question. Those 6 questions were, what is the ultimate benefit for mankind? 2, what is the essence of all scriptures? 3, for what reason did the Lord take his birth from Mother Devaki? 4, describe the wonderful deeds of the Lord when assumed the forms of Brahma, Rudra, etc., for the purpose of creating, maintaining, and destroying the universe. 5, fully describe the activities of Lord Hari's incarnations within this universe. 6, where is religion taking shelter after Krishna has retired to his own abode? So we're dealing with question number 5 in this chapter, the description of the activities of Lord Hari's incarnation within this universe. Yesterday in the Bhagavad Gita reading and discussion, we were discussing the difference between the Sanskrit words Mahatma and Duratma. Mahatma means great soul. Duratma means crooked soul. So the sages of Naimisharanya are all Mahatmas who are seeking to understand the position of these various incarnations. Sometimes there is misunderstanding as propaganda that in India, the followers of Vedic religion, they are worshiping many gods. They are not. There's only one God. Just like in this universe, there's only one sun. One cannot say, well, there's a Christian sun, there's a Islam sun, there's a Hindu sun, there's a Jewish sun, there's a Buddhist sun. No, it is not like that. But the sun is perceived in different time, different places, in different circumstances, in different locations, according to one's situation. Similarly, there's only one God, and he can come and incarnate. It's called avatar. The Sanskrit avatar means to come down, to descend from a higher platform. So this is what Suta Goswami is explaining in this chapter, the exalted position of the different avatars, the different incarnations of Lord Krishna. In this particular avatar, the incarnation of King Rama, Prabhupada explains, the personality of Godhead Sri Rama assumed the form of a human being and appeared on the earth for the purpose of doing some pleasing work for the demigods or the administrative personalities for maintaining the orders of the universe. We see in the Bhagavad Gita, in the chapter 4, Krishna has described what is the real purpose of his appearance. Dharma samstapanartaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Krishna explains very nicely, paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chadushkritam dharma samstapanartaya sambhavami yuge yuge. That Krishna appears in different millenniums to reestablish the principles of religion, and vinachaya chadushkritam, to clear out the demons. The non-pious element, the demons are cleared out, annihilated by the mercy of the Lord. We see here our Lord Krishna incarnated as Ramachandra for the purpose of destroying this Ravana. Prabhupada is very interesting, gave the example that Ravana was one of them, and he wanted to deport ordinary men to the planets of Indra, heaven, by material means without any consideration of the necessary qualifications. He wanted that a staircase may be built up directly reaching the heavenly planet, so that people may not be required to undergo the routine of pious work for qualifying oneself to enter into that planet. He wanted to do many other similar work against the established rule of the Lord. Even he challenged the authority of Sri Rama, the personality of Godhead, and kidnapped his wife Sita. So we do know from the history of the Ramayana that Ravana kidnapped Sita with trickery, with deceit. He disguised himself as a sannyasi and produced by some mystic power some golden deer. Lakshman had made a special circle, the brother of Rama had made a special circle near the cottage of Sita and told her not to go beyond that. It was a special protective circle. But Ravana disguised himself as a sannyasi to snatch Sita. So this great offensive act, Lord Rama was not pleased, and he made the decision to go and chastise the evildoer Ravana. When Ravana left, after kidnapping Sita, there was a bird, an eagle, Jatayu, who tried to stop Ravana, and Ravana cut off one of his wings. Jatayu rendered some service to Lord Rama, even though it involved considerable difficulty, considerable personal bodily discomfort. We see in the preaching activities how Śrīla Prabhupāda, we have been reading about his travel on the Jaladuta, coming from India. And we know from the description in Prabhupada's diary that he had 2 heart attacks. But some way or other he survived. There's a very nice painting that has been done where Śrīla Prabhupada is there and Krishna is massaging his head on the Jaladuta. There is also another dream that Prabhupada had, that the boat was being carried by the 10 avatars. The Jaladuta was being pushed by the 10 avatars to come to America. So this was not an ordinary journey. Sometimes some devotees have a misunderstanding that Prabhupada was just another guru. He's just another guru who came at the right place at the right time. No, that is the wrong understanding. Śrīla Prabhupada was the empowered representative of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the empowered representative of Lord Krishna and Lord Rama. That is why he was able to make that difficult journey and preach and come to preach Krishna consciousness. We saw that as soon as Prabhupada came off the boat in Boston in 1965, on his way to Butler, Pennsylvania, he was preaching to everybody. So the question may be, how did an old person with practically no money, 40 rupees in America did not go very far? Prabhupada related the story of Captain Pandya, the captain of the ship, bought a few books from him and gave him something like $20 or $25 because Prabhupada had no money, no American currency. So Prabhupada made his way to Butler, Pennsylvania, stayed in the house of Mr. Agarwal. And what was he doing there? Would he just taking his good old time or relaxing? No. Prabhupada was doing the same thing he was doing in Jhansi in 1953 with the League of Devotees, constantly preaching the message of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Constantly preaching the message of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. This is very important. Why did Śrīla Prabhupada emphasize the message of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam? He could have basically come to America and emphasized the message of Ishopanishad, emphasized the message of the Vedas, emphasized the message of Mahabharata. There are many different scriptures. But Śrīla Prabhupada chose the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam because that is what his Guru Maharaj did. It is well known that Śrīla Prabhupada and Prabhupada's Guru places great emphasis on the position of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. We see in the Chaitanya Charitamrita how Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami has explained. He quotes from the Garuda Purana, Itihasam Purananam Artoyam Brahma Sutranam, that the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the natural commentary on Vedanta Sutra. If one wants to understand Vedanta Sutra properly, he has to study Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And Śrīla Prabhupada came and he presented the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Recently, we were hearing in the introduction of the classes of Prabhupada's preaching in New York in early 1966. How in one place Prabhupada had a program and he requested a bystander to watch over his books while he walked up to the stage and was proceeding to give a lecture. The whole Krishna Consciousness movement was started on the basis of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and the writings of this exalted personality, Śrīla Prabhupāda. Very special. These books are the divine dispensation from Śrīla Prabhupāda. Just this morning, I got an email from our good friend in England, Maheshwar Prabhu, Mahesh Raja, and I recently sent a little series of quotes called Hare Krishna Tejiyasam Nadoshaya, which basically Śrīla Prabhupada is faultless. And Śrīla Prabhupada was quoting from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, explaining how, for example, in Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 17, Text 10, Canto 6, Chapter 17, Text 10, although Chitraketu never meant to insult Lord Shiva, he should not have criticized the Lord, even though the Lord was transgressing social customs. It is said, Tejiyasam Nadoshaya, one who is very powerful should be understood to be faultless. For example, one should not find faults with the sun, although it evaporates urine from the street. The most powerful cannot be criticized by an ordinary man or even by a great personality. Chitraketu should have known that Lord Shiva, although sitting in that way, was not to be criticized. The difficulty was that Chitraketu, having become a great devotee of Lord Vishnu, Sankarsana, was somewhat proud of having achieved Lord Sankarsana's favor, and therefore thought that he could now criticize anyone, even Lord Shiva. This kind of pride in a devotee is never tolerated. A Vaishnava should always remain very humble and meek and offer respects to others. So our good friend Maheshwar Prabhu quoted a letter from Śrīla Prabhupada given on January 20th, 1972. Prabhupada says, So far, you're telling me that some devotees consider that because there may be some grammatical discrepancies in my Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam first canto, then they may also be allowed to translate with errors accepted. That is just like imitating Rasa Leela. When you do all other things like Krishna, then you can do Rasa Leela. So if these other writers can do like me and spread Krishna consciousness all over the world by becoming big Vedic scholars, then they can do. If one is too big, there is no mistake. Arsha Prayoga means there may be discrepancies, but it is all right. Just like Shakespeare, sometimes there are odd usages of language, but he's accepted as authority. I have explained all these things in my preface to first canto. My first concern is that my book shall be published and distributed profusely all over the world. Practically, books are the basis of our movement. Without books, our preaching will have no effect. Again, the foregoing letter was a letter to one Mandali Das on January 20th, 1972. So this is the power of Śrīla Prabhupada. He was not just an ordinary devotee or somebody who happened to come here at the right place at the right time, as it has been described by some so-called biographers. Prabhupada was the empowered representative of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We see in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the Antya-lila, chapter 5, Śrīla Prabhupada explains in one purport, when the spiritual master speaks, it is to be understood that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is speaking through him. In other words, Krishna is speaking through Śrīla Prabhupada. We have our good friend Jana Sprita in Hawaii, who told us the story one time that Śrīla Prabhupada was explaining that I even read my own books. One time I had one of Prabhupada's servants who told me this story, how he was in Prabhupada's room and Prabhupada was reading his own Nectar of Devotion. So the personal servant asked the Prabhupada, why are you reading? This is your book. Prabhupada, no, this is Krishna's dictation. I've just dictated what Krishna has given. So this is a very important point to understand. Prabhupada was empowered to spread Krishna consciousness. He was the empowered ambassador of Lord Chaitanya, an eternal Nitya Siddha, an eternally liberated soul who came from Vaikuntha, from Goloka Vrindavan, to deliver, to bring the Krishna consciousness movement, to bring this chanting. Just like we see in the songs of the Vaishnavacharyas, there's reference to this Maha Mantra, Golokira Premadana, Harinama Samkirtana. This chanting of Hare Krishna is come from Goloka Vrindavan, from the spiritual world, through the bona fide authorized disciplic succession. So Prabhupada brought the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the teachings of Bhaktivedanta Thakur and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur to America and all over the world. We know some of us were getting a little older in age, like Vishwakarma Prabhu, myself, Jiva Goswami Prabhu, and others. As you get older, there are certain difficulties that occur with old age. It is not easy. It becomes a little bit more difficult than when we were 20, 25, 27 years old. But Prabhupada, at advanced old age, he sacrificed everything. He could have stayed in Vrindavan. He was living at the best place in the universe. The Samadhi of Rupa Goswami, the Radha Damodar temple, the Samadhi of Jiva Goswami. He could have stayed there very nicely. No, but he sacrificed, following the order of his Guru Maharaj, and came to deliver the message. So now it is up to the sincere followers, to the serious followers. Why are we using this word serious? to distinguish from the fly-by-night sahajiyas and non-serious devotees who are compromising the teachings. Just yesterday, I was getting ready some talking points because tomorrow in Germany, some devotees wanted me to address or speak something. So I put a couple of quotes from Śrīla Prabhupāda, and one of the points is, what happened? How does the disciplic succession get distorted? Why does Krishna say in the Bhagavad Gita, Nasta Parantapa, that the disciplic succession was lost, and Krishna came to reestablish it? This is the power of Śrīla Prabhupāda. After the disorder that took place in the post-1937 Gaudiya, he came to reestablish the bona fide teachings of his Guru Maharaj, Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur. And we have these books. It's up to us to study these books, preach these books, and make sure that we communicate that message without distortion, without changes, without any compromise. So tomorrow, I believe at 10:30 a.m. or 1:30 Eastern Time, USA, they wanted me to speak a little something, so we will try. My lowly self will be there, so if some of you want to participate, I believe there is some kind of a link that they have sent out. And if you don't have it, you can request Venkat Bhatta Prabhu to forward it to you. So I'll leave the platform now and leave it to more esteemed speakers to make comments. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, for your wonderful explanation of these transcendental subject matters. And I wanted to go to the end of the text 22 of this particular verse today, where it's describing the construction of this bridge. Because Lord Ramachandra was the personality of Godhead, he exhibited some superhuman activities which no human being, including the materially advanced Ravana, could do then. Lord Ramachandra prepared a royal road on the Indian Ocean with stones which are floating on the water. The modern scientists have searched out the region of weightlessness, but it is not possible for such scientists to bring in weightlessness anywhere and everywhere. But because weightlessness is the creation of the Lord, by which he can make the gigantic planets fly and float in the air, so he made the stones even within this earth into weightlessness and prepared a stone bridge on the sea without supporting pillar. This is the display of all powerfulness of God. So someone could say, well, this doesn't seem to be true. It's just a fable or something manufactured. And I wanted to go forward here in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam lectures in chapter on 1.3.22 on page 406. Prabhupada further discusses the construction of these bridges in this lecture. So here is also Lord Ramachandra appeared. The business was to kill Ravana, not main business. Main business is to satisfy the devotee, side by side to kill Ravana. And Ravana was on the other side of the Indian Ocean. So Hanuman, a devotee of Ramachandra, he jumped over the ocean simply by chanting Jai Ram. You see, but Ramachandra thought himself that he is unable to jump over. He had to construct a bridge, you can see, but what kind of bridge? Bridge, a stone bridge that was floating on the sea. The law of gravitation did not work. That is God. He can nullify any law. He can introduce any new law, and nobody has God experience. That stone thrown on the water, floating, no one has God. Naturally, it goes down. But this is God, that he nullifies the general law as he desires. Sarva Shakti Sampanna. That is all powerful. That is greatness. Now that if you have got a small body and the elephant has got a very big body, therefore he is great. No, that is not greatness. Therefore he is great. No, that is not greatness. The elephant, in spite of having such a big body and 1,000 times stronger than the human being, he is controlled by a small human being. That means intelligence is strength, not this bodily buddhir yasha balam vyasya. Anyone who has got intelligence, he has got strength. Just like by intelligence, they have discovered the nuclear weapon. By dropping a nuclear weapon, hundreds and thousands of soldiers can be killed, so there is no more need of maintaining a huge army. So many men now released. Those who've got atomic bomb, at least I know in Russia they know, we've got an atomic bomb. What is the use of maintaining such a huge army? Let them work for other production. So here Prabhupada is explaining further the power of Sri Krishna. And it isn't simply a fable like some people believe. And I wanted our production manager, Vinkat Bhatta Prabhu, if you could please bring up Adam's, it's called Adam's Bridge, and it is an aerial photograph of the bridge that was taken recently, that the bridge that was constructed between Lanka and India. Did you find that, Prabhu? There it is. So people can say whatever they want, that this is a myth, but it isn't. And here is the actual photo. And this pastime took place tens of thousands of years ago. And the bridge is at the bottom of the ocean now. But we can see that this is not just a fable, but is reality. So it's very important for us to understand that Prabhupada is giving us insights into the history of the world according to Vedic teachings and not to some sort of myth. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, could you please continue?
It's very significant that if somebody visits Rameshwaram, the place where Lord Ramachandra stopped, there's a little place called Dhanushkodi, and they have a pond there where they have one of those original stones from the time of Lord Ramachandra, and it's floating in the water. So that kind of special mystic transcendental power is still visible. But this is the power of Krishna. In 1971 in Calcutta, we had Bhaktivedanta Swami and my lowly self. We went to Śrīla Prabhupāda's room and we asked him about the moon expedition. And we said, Śrīla Prabhupada, there's been a lot of controversy about your statements that they cannot really go to the moon, that they cannot reach there. So we wanted to know, what is your final conclusion? And Prabhupada leaned back and he started to smile and he said, as far as I am concerned, and the Bhagavad Gita is concerned, human beings cannot go there. And he gave this example explaining how in the Bhagavad Gita that the worshipper of the demigods attained the planets of the demigods, and that the worshippers of Krishna attain the planet of Krishna. So in order to attain planets of demigods, you have to undergo austerities and specific worship, and then qualify oneself in the next life to go there. You cannot artificially go to another planet. And he quoted from the Brahma Samhita 2 Sanskrit called Vibhuti Binnam. He says, in this universe, there are specific conditions in every planet, that every living being in every planet has certain conditions. And you cannot transfer yourself to another planet unless you have special pious activities. Then Prabhupada explained that he gave that story that Ravana, it is described in the Ramayana, Ravana tried to construct a stairway by which people should just go to the higher planets without austerities, without pious activities. Prabhupada said that is not possible. So Prabhupada gave so many Vedic evidence. And then he said, well, if they have gone there, why don't they live there? They have gone there, why don't they establish some residence there? Then Prabhupada mentioned if they have gone anywhere, they went to the planet Rahu, which is the planet that goes between the sun and the earth for eclipses, the moon and the earth, Rahu and Ketu. So Prabhupada gave very conclusive evidence according to Vedic understanding how they cannot really go there. There's that same lecture that you were reading, there's a very nice explanation by Śrīla Prabhupāda. This is in September 27th, 1972 in Los Angeles. Prabhupada explains, so Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam. To kill the miscreants and to protect the devotees, he descends. That is avatar. They have two business. Not that avatar means keeping some long beard or having an artificial helmet. Rascals may be allured by them, but those who are sensible, who've got sense, they will see with reference to the Shastra, the avatar, every avatar. We are reading so many avatars. The activity of that particular avatar is also mentioned that this avatar incarnation will appear accepting such and such person as father and mother. And his activities will be like this. So how any rascal can come out and say, I am the avatar, I am the incarnation, so that some other rascals may believe. So those who have sense, they will not accept. Here it is clearly mentioned, Lord Ramachandra, he appeared just like ordinary human being. Naradevatvam apannaha, accepted. There were many other kings as good as Lord Ramachandra. But why people are after Ramachandra? Because he is God. Unfortunately, there are so many rascals. They pose themselves as incarnation of Rama, incarnation Krishna, and people are all foolish Shudras, no education, no knowledge, and they're accepting. So Lord Ramachandra appeared for the purpose of satisfying the Sura. Krishna appears for protection of the Sura, Sura and Asura. Asura means non-devotee, and Sura means devotee. So for killing the Asuras, Krishna does not require to come down. Any agent, there are Parasya Shaktir Vivideva Shruyate. By simply advising the king of heaven, Indra, to send a strong wind, so many Asuras can be immediately annihilated. So for that purpose, Krishna does not require to come. He comes for satisfying the devotees. The devotees are so anxious to see him. Just like Prahlad Maharaj, Nrsimhadev appeared not to kill his teeny father, Simply by redirecting the Maya, he could be killed. But he wanted to come before Prahlad Maharaj that you are my such nice devotee, you are suffering for me, now I have come, you see. This is the purpose. To kill the atheists, keeping the promise of Brahma intact. He took benediction from Brahma that I shall not die in this way, and in this way, all the promises of Brahma kept. He appeared in such a form that it will not clash with the promise of Brahma. Therefore, he had to take the form of such a thing which does not clash with the promise. Brahma was a devotee. He is giving him some benediction. So Krishna did not violate that. It must be kept. Contd aprachijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. Just see the kindness of Krishna. He kept Brahma's promise. He kept the atheist Hiranyakashipu's aspiration. And he satisfied Prahlada. And everything was done simply by incarnating as Narasimhadeva. This is Krishna's plan. He comes, but by one stroke, he serves so many business. That is Krishna. So here is also Lord Ramachandra appeared. The main business was to kill Ravana. Not main business. Main business is to satisfy the devotee. Side by side to kill Ravana. And Ravana was on the other side of Indian Ocean. So Hanuman, a devotee of Ramachandra, he jumped over the ocean simply by chanting Jai Ram. You see, but Ramachandra taught himself that he's unable to jump over. He had to construct a bridge, you see. What kind of bridge? A stone bridge that was floating on the sea. The law of gravitation did not work. That is God. He can nullify any law. He can introduce any new law. And nobody has got experience that stone thrown on the water floating. No one has got. Naturally, it goes down. But this is God, that he nullifies the general law as he desires. Sarva Shakti Sampanaha, that is all powerful. That is greatness. Not that you've got a small body and the elephant has got a very big body, therefore he's great. No, that is not greatness. The elephant, in spite of having such a big body and 1,000 times stronger than a human being, he is controlled by a small human being. That means intelligence is strength, not this bodily. Buddhir yasya balam tasya. Anyone who's got intelligence, he's got strength. Just like by intelligence, they have discovered a nuclear weapon. By dropping a nuclear weapon, hundreds and thousands of soldiers can be killed. There is no more need of maintaining a huge army. So many men now release. Those who've got atomic bomb, at least I know in Russia, they know we've got atomic bomb. What is the use of maintaining such a huge army? Let them work for other production. So in this way, Prabhupada explains from so many different angles the wonderful pastimes of Lord Ramachandra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Yes, and the atheistic society that we live in, they claim they went to the moon, and it's apparent that there's evidence, despite what people think, that this is a fraud. And Prabhupada was polite in his explanation of these so-called stories. But, and people that believe they went to the moon, they're naive. For example, back in the 60s, which we're from, that period, I mean, there weren't even personal computers. They had these huge, massive computers and trying to figure out things. And you look at the pictures of these so-called spaceships, they look absolutely absurd. So anyone with common sense can see that, and Prabhupada could see it as well. We have Jonas Priya in Hawaii. I hope he's with us. Maybe he can share some insights into the atheistic philosophy of the modern Kali Yuga demons. Jonas Priya.
Can you hear me? Let me
Almost. No, your mic isn't quite hooked up properly.
Can you hear me?
No.
Is the voice sound distorted?
It's not working, Prabhu.
It's not working. Oh,
No.
probably not.
It's very muffled. The sound is muffled.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know. Still struggling. I got a new computer, but still have a problem. Okay, let's try. Does it sound better now?
No.
No. Okay.
Are there any questions, Vinkat Bhatta Prabhu, on our chat or in the group?
No questions.
Anybody have any questions they'd like to share with us or comments on the floor?
How about now? Can you hear me now?
Oh, yes, we can.
Do you hear me clearly?
Yes, we can. Everything's working now.
Okay.
Go ahead if you wanted to make a comment, please.
Jai Śrīla Prabhupāda, please accept my humble obeisances. Yeah, I was I was very thinking about Ramachandra building the bridge and how on the editing of Prabhupada's books, they took out the controversy of Prabhupada said it very clearly, we did not go to the moon. Says they went somewhere, but they didn't go to the moon. And somewhere, as we understand, there was some studio that was set up by, at the time they were filming the movie Odyssey 2001, and they have the perfect everything, the perfect setup. And they went and talked to Robert Kubek.
Stanley.
They went and talked to him. The FBI went and talked to him and told him, hey, we want to rent your set for 3 months. And we want you to help us produce this. And he said, no, I can't do that. And then they said, well, let us use your set. So he ended up agreeing. And he came out and made this publicly. And there's so many books and there's so much proof. And we don't need any other proof of Śrīla Prabhupada saying this didn't happen. He said, even just to come to America, just to travel within this stinking little planet, he said. He didn't say stinking little planet, that's my 2 cents. It's difficult. Why? Because you have to qualify just to come to the US. You have to have a visa. To get a visa, you have to prove that you have some form of income. There's so many things. So he says, just imagine to go to another planet. How could you just simply go? He says, yes, you can go. And he did write the book, His Journey to Other Planets, explaining how it's done, the proper way. You worship the god of that planet and you become familiar and you do austerities and you have the right kind of flying equipment, such as a Vimana, that they exist and they're still around. And yes, you can go, but he says with the technology that they have, no. And we know that the technology at the time in 1970, which is when the supposed landing was, it was like a bicycle when you could have a Ferrari. There was just no way. And Prabhupada said, so what? They spend billions of dollars, and what's the proof? A rock. He says, one rock. That's all they have. And the people are so foolish that they eat it up. Why? Because it's on the news, and whatever was on the news, it was gospel. because that's the religion of the people. Prabhupada says they trying to establish science as the religion of the world. So these scientists are pretending to be the saviors of the world through science. And Prabhupada says this is just pure demoniac, and this is nothing new. The demons always have tried to do this. So our duty is to establish what Śrīla Prabhupada taught us, to establish his books. Everything is on these books. These books, as Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu was saying, they're the greatest gift that Prabhupada gave us. These books are alive and they're interactive. And as soon as we put one of these books, he said, even just by having this book in our home, even if we don't read the book, just simply the presence of this book in any house, this book will have a great influence and eventually will have effect on the people. So our duty is to revive these teachings that Śrīla Prabhupada gave us. And the main teaching that he gave us is that we are servants of Krishna, and we're not going to be happy trying to do anything else. It's like the fish out of water. It doesn't matter what you do to this fish. If you take him out of the water, he's going to die. And we're all dead or comatose. And in that comatose state, we think we're so great. That's just simply Kali Yuga and the influence of Kali Yuga on our tiny little brain. So Prabhupada not only gave us Krishna, but he gave us a complete system of how to go about getting to know Krishna. And he introduces to Lord Chaitanya, and Lord Chaitanya said, in this time and place, the way to awaken that love of God in your heart is through the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And it's so simple. Prabhupada says this philosophy is simple for the simple and complicated for the complicated. He says, what is the difficulty? I was just thinking the phrase that Prabhupada coined, just try to understand. He didn't even expect us that we understand. He said, just simply try. So at least we could simply try to understand what Prabhupada said, and we should try to read Prabhupada's books every day. I myself challenge anybody to grab one of Prabhupada's books at night before you go to bed, put it on your chest and embrace it and feel it. It's there. Prabhupada is there, very, very present in his books. Krishna is very, very present in his book. And if you show this appreciation for the book, just take all the trouble that Śrīla Prabhupada went to produce that book. Those books didn't just manifest. No, Prabhupada took severe austerities to produce those books. So that's my little contribution. Hare Krishna.
Yes, thank you very much. And let's try to understand what a book is. You know, because someone may think, oh, well, there's so many millions of books, billions of books. So the book is the sound. It's the printed word. It's said that the pen is mightier than the sword. So the books are the sound representation of the spiritual master. It is sound that we're drawing from. It's Prabhupada described these books as windows, like the paintings. They're windows into the spiritual sky. So this is The idea for us is to understand that these books, it's not just words, it's a insight into spiritual life, which is the gift of Krishna consciousness. It's insight, it's vision. Like Prabhupada explains, he chants, Om Jnana, you'll open my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. So the books, this is wisdom being translated, being transferred to us by the grace of the spiritual master. So this is the philosophical position that we take, Shravanam Kirtanam, to hear. The more we hear, the more we can understand, and the more we understand, the more we can practice this process. And in this way, yes, Prabhu, windows into the spiritual sky, we get a vision of who we are and why we're here and how we can liberate ourselves out of this, how can I say, very difficult state of the mind that we're caught in. The mind does not stop. It can be our friend or it can be our enemy. And oftentimes the mind can be the enemy of the conditioned soul. Bhakti Hari Prasad, we'll take one question and then we'll finish up. Bhakti Hari Prasad.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
You have your hand up. Yes.
Yes, Prabhu. Okay. Is my voice audible?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Yes, Prabhu. So actually, I have a friend. So he stays in a very remote area. So due to his to the activities that he has done in the past, some bad conditioning that we've all been through. So he's also been through the same conditioning, but since he's in a remote place, he's not able to associate physically with any devotees. So it's hard for him to get over his bad habit. So he's struggling to get over it, and he's getting all negative thoughts. So how should one overcome such a situation? So that is my question, Prabhu, because he's really struggling.
Well, that's a bit vague. You know, he's in isolation. Does he have books?
Yeah, he has books, and he tries to devote his time for reading books and chanting, but he says that it's difficult for him to overcome those activities, bad activities. He's trying his best, he says.
Well, you know, Prabhupada gave us a simple instruction, which was that if you're in a particular place where you're doing Sankirtan, then what you should do, if it's difficult, you should leave and go somewhere else. Don't stay where it's too difficult to perform devotional service. So tell him to move. Just leave where he is. If it's possible, maybe invite him to you. So give him some assistance. Maybe Yaśodā can further elaborate on that.
Well, one thing that he can do is structure his life in such a way that he can get some time to chant Hare Krishna. That's the real solution. Wherever he is, the same problems are going to be there. What he has to do is go beyond the problem, go above the problem. Brahma-bhuta prasanatma na sochati na kankshati. What he has to do is stop the lamentation and hankering and chant. He has to chant. Does your friend chant Hare Krishna? What does he do?
Yeah, he does, bro. He tries to chant 16 rounds daily. Yeah, and he reads Śrīla Prabhupāda's books, and he listens sometimes to his lectures. He tries to follow a regulated lifestyle, but sometimes he is trapped by those bad habits.
There's a verse that is cited in Hare Bhaktivedanta where it describes what should a devotee do if he has a problem and there are still some remaining offenses when he's chanting. It says, Bhumos kalita padanam bhumireva balambanam tvayi jata paradanam tvameva sharanam prabhu. One of Krishna's name is called Prabhu, the master. He says, so it is described just like when you go up a slippery stairway, by trying again and again and again, eventually you will reach the top. So in this way, by chanting again and again and again, eventually one will be able to become purified and conquer those difficulties. Now, I don't know what kind of association this devotee has. You can invite him to come to the classes or look at our website or contact devotees. That's one way that he can help himself. And if you're in touch with him, give him some association, talk to him, explain to him things, read with him. There's a lot of different ways of getting association nowadays, especially with modern technology. So it's a matter of how serious he is to get beyond that problem. If a person is serious, Krishna will help. Just like there's an old English proverb, God helps those who help themselves. First, a person has to be willing, has to be serious. Then naturally there will be some help coming. Just a few respectful suggestions. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Yeah, so
Hare Krishna.
that's good. And thank you, Venkat. You're right. Tell him to attend these classes, because really, if you think about it, this is a proper dovetailing of technology. For example, if you go downtown, if I go downtown in Hamilton, you get benefit for going out and, chanting in public. You see these Sankirtan parties with a few people out chanting on the street. And some people, of course, people get benefit from it. We've all been on Sankirtan maybe 1,000 times. I've gone on street Sankirtan. And there's some benefit, but you have to see how many people you've actually contacted that were really interested in spiritual life. It's out of thousands and thousands of people. You go through all of them. It's very hard to meet somebody that's actually sincere. In Hamilton here, you go downtown, there's just people look like in tents and walking around, lost with no money. That's what the downtown area is. It's very, very difficult to meet. I'm not saying you shouldn't do that, but a lot of times the most benefit you get from going on Sankirtan is the purification that you receive by performing that jaga, that you get the benefit by going out and seeing the way the world is and chanting the holy name, and then you come back and conduct yourself accordingly in your own ashram or bhajan kutir or wherever, and practice this process of Krishna consciousness in association with like-minded devotees. We're going to wind up the class, and we want to thank everyone and this discussions and readings. Before we do, I wanted to remind you that we are producing a Vyas Puja book for September 8th, 2023. And this book will have a series of articles at the beginning of it. And then we'll have all of the offerings by the individual devotees on this call specifically, and those that do watch the show after at their convenience. Those who are watching, please be mindful that we're requesting you to write a Vyas Puja offering to Śrīla Prabhupāda for the publication of this book. And we will put you, thank you, Venkat Bhatta Prabhu, we will put your name in here in alphabetical order. And this will be a record for the history of your spiritual life. And the revival of Prabhupada's movement of Krishna consciousness according to his teachings and direction. So it's, if you can see Hari Prasad, it is August 31st is the last date. It's on the front of the ad here, if you can see the ad. So this will give you an idea. And we also wanted to remind you that Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu will be traveling to Sacramento, California, for the celebration of Vyas Puja on September 8th. He'll be conducting the programs there. And he'll also be present for the Vyas, the Janmashtami celebration. You can see September 7th. There's a feast. It'll be a wonderful prasadam feast with ghee and halava and sabji and rice and puris, and all in the traditional methods that Prabhupada taught us back then. I just wanted to mention that in Toronto this year at the Rath Yatra, they were selling 3 samosas for $10, 3 little ones. And I found out that they weren't even cooked by devotees. They were cooked at a bakery where they cook meat samosas. And then they bought them and then they resold them at the Toronto Rath Yatra. So this festival is much different. These samosas will be made by Bhaktaran's mother and offered to Krishna. And in this way, everyone will get the real benefit of this taking of prasadam, the ecstatic chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. And we will be broadcasting this program for everyone's benefit online. So even if you can't attend, of course, you're welcome to attend there if you decide to make the journey. You can get a hold of Ron. You can see his phone number is there, 916-430-0035 in Sacramento. And if you give him a call, he'll be happy to make arrangements for you to visit. And look at that beautiful picture of Yaśoda with the tape recorder, walking with Prabhupada, and typical of the way he was, just trying to absorb as much as possible. So now that he is still with us, he can convey all these wonderful stories. And he'll be doing that. Renowned senior disciple and scholar on the life of Śrīla Prabhupāda, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu is one of the foremost authorities on the life and pastimes of Śrīla Prabhupāda on this planet. And this is a rare opportunity that you don't want to miss. So these programs are going on, and in the future, more programs will be developing in our association of Prabhupada disciples. So thank you, everyone, for attending today. All glories to Śrīla Prabhupada, and chant along with the Harinam Sankirtan being led by Śrīla Prabhupada in this recording.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for this meeting. Very good. Very good. I like it.
Apakita, kama